All right. Well, welcome. Gonna have a nice group in here for today, and got a lot of good stuff to talk about. Couple things right off the bat here, because you never know where discussion is going to go and things like this. So we are going to start with the code for today. So if you are looking for HRCI credit, there's an hour of credit good for today. And just as a special note, if anybody is looking for SHRM credits, let me know. Let me know, because there's a way to deal with that. A lot of you know my story with SHRM, so I've been totally canceled because I complained about a lot of stuff, like being white. Apparently that's a problem these days. Okay. Well, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about today and a couple of things that we want to. Hello? Oh. A couple things we want to talk about right away is there's a few ways to participate. One is you can chat me up, and that's why you'll see me look over here to this screen because it's easier for me to see the whole screen come up with the chat and everything. That's one way. You can also open your mic. Now, this causes some confusion, but I want to make sure people get it. We have 100, 200 people that come to these things, and that's wonderful. Everybody is absolutely welcome. And if somebody is not on our distribution list and they want to be on our distribution list, the only requirement is basically that they have a pulse and can fog a mirror. That's it. If you're human, you're welcome. That's the whole idea. And that's one reason we started this organization here in Ohio, Make Ohio Fair. So you can speak up at any time. I'm not necessarily going to see you being polite, like raising your hand out there and saying, hey, I would like to say something. I'm probably not going to see you because I'm focusing what I'm doing here because I'm talking to you. I want to answer your questions in the chat. And so if you've got something to say to speak up, open up your mic. And just as another thing, if you're not going to be speaking, make sure that your mic is closed. All right, make sure that it is off because that can be very distracting to everyone else. All right. And then, of course, we've got our reactions here. And so let me just make sure that we've got these all things going. I'm just going to give you a little heart symbol here. So if you want to practice, make sure you've got your reactions. That's great too. All right. So we got lots of really good stuff to talk about. Marsha's giving me your thumbs up. That is absolutely perfect. Perfect. All right. So a couple things. It's winding down now. We're trying to find a way to re-engineer diversity and basically create a safe environment for everyone. Now, last month we talked about President Trump's executive orders. Okay. And it doesn't make any difference what my opinion is, what your opinion is, because he's the president. He can do what he wants to do to a large extent. Now, the executive orders are on hold right now because, of course, they got a legal challenge for vagueness and constitutionality for freedom of speech and things like this. So you got to work through that. That's just a given. Okay. It really doesn't matter. Now, for those of you in the public sector, or those of you who maybe have government contracts or contract with government contractors, yeah, this is going to be a big deal as to what you can or can't do. Okay. And I'll tell you, my own personal opinion is the executive orders bothered me from the standpoint that they were so broad that pretty much anything to do with diversity. Now, you see the problem. We have diversity programs that go far, 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 far to the left. They cancel people. They tell people like me that I'm guilty, that I'm racist, and make no bones about it. A lot of these programs do that. And I will tell you right now, in 25 years of teaching tolerance and diversity, I've never seen a program in place in an organization that was totally legal. And we've got a whole session that we did on that. If you want to go back and look and see and just sort of do a little pulse on your organization, that would be a very good idea. Because I think we've got some standard rules here. And here's our first poll vote. How many people think your programs at work should be legal? Okay, since I'm on camera, I'll raise my hand, and I gave you a thumbs up. How many people think, yeah, they really ought to be legal? Really should be. Okay, getting a lot of good. Yeah, Lynn, I love all the, I can't even count all the thumbs going on here. Yeah, got to be legal. Okay, number two, how many people think that in all of your programs, no one should be discriminated against or stereotyped? I'm going to give you another thumbs up. I mean, everybody, right? Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're getting a good crowd here. That's wonderful. That does not always happen. So enter creating a safe environment for all humans. Now, a couple little notes here. I got a lot of my proofers here. Just finishing up the program with Ohio Fair. 24 30 to 40 minute video training sessions for employees. Okay, 24 of them. And a lot of you are my proofers. And I thank you, getting lots of really great feedback, because I want these to be as well balanced before we launch them. Okay, now freeze right here. If anybody still wants to be a proofer, let me know. Just shoot me an email, because I'm not going to be able to pick it up on the chat. Scott@scottwarwick.com. There's my email address, Scott@scottwarwick.com. And we got another week of proofing going through, and you can proof whatever you want. There's all kinds of things, such as on subconscious bias, on competitive victimization, on what is the difference between equity and equality. When do we need equality? Who should be included in our programs? What is cancel culture? How to prevent workplace violence? All of these things are in there, and we're going to explain how this all fits together here. So if you still want to be a proofer, let me know. I will send the hot link out to you this weekend. All right. And another thing is I still get calls as to whether or not I work with individual companies and help them with their programs and do training for them. Yeah, absolutely. The videos are going to be, I think, a very good thing to help us put these programs in place, because they're easy. And it's meant for a facilitator to help with those. But yeah, if you have questions about your program, I've gotten a few questions after last session wanting to know if their DEI statement was legal. I'm happy to look at those things. Absolutely, because we want to have a good program. Now, let's just freeze right here. We don't want the problems that are with traditional DEI today. And I've run into a lot of them. A lot of you have shared with me the problems that you have. But we don't want to go over here to the far right and throw the baby out with the bathwater. No. Let's just make sure we're on the same page. Honestly, is it good to have a safe environment for everyone that is diverse? What do you think? Give me some thumbs up, thumbs down. Say, no, I want only people who think like me. That's all I want. Which would be really bad. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So that's where we're heading. So many companies, like maybe that's why a lot of you are here right now. I don't want to, like Target. Target is taking it in the teeth right now. They didn't want to continue with the DEI that they had because of the legality and the discrimination. So they threw it out entirely. Why did they do that? Because they didn't know what else to do. They didn't know what else to do. What's the middle option? That's what we're going to talk about here, and I want you to see the game plan, and it really is not all that complicated. So where are we going? Always remember, is it safe? Is it safe? Is it a safe environment for you to come to work in? And you know what that means? There's trust. There's trust. Now, freeze right there. How many people here have ever done trust building training or programs in your organization? I always love this because you always get from the CEO or COO, oh, we need to have some trust building. Yeah. What do we do? Well, you got to define it. Yeah, lots of great thumbs coming up. Safe environments mean there's trust. Now, let's just look at the big 30,000 feet overview. Take your programs and put them all together. There should be one major program. Hey, you have other programs for other things, obviously. But what is your safe culture program made of? Well, today we're going to look at the harassment and bullying. Now, freeze right there. If you are in an organization where you have not done your harassment and bullying training, I mean, you are licking the outlet. You are flirting with disaster. It will bite you one day. This is required training. Now, some states like Illinois, California, Delaware, New York, Chicago for the city and things like this, you have a statute that says you have to do this. In the rest of the states like Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, all these other states, if you don't do your training, if you don't have a proper policy in place, if you don't have a proper complaint procedure in place, and if you do not train, these are all measures to prevent harassment in the workplace. And if you have a supervisor who harasses somebody, you're automatically liable. We call it strict liability. So you see, that's why we're starting there, right? Because think about it. If I'm going to pick on somebody, if I'm going to bully somebody, if I'm going to harass somebody, for whatever reason, isn't that diversity? It makes no sense to have those programs separate. And I just love this. Well, they're canceling our diversity program. How can they do that? How can they do that? Because haven't you already intertwined your diversity program with your harassment and bullying? You want them all intertwined. And what else is important? Workplace violence. Okay, now let's just qualify this here. I love this because I'll ask a lot of times if somebody has done their workplace violence training. Oh, yeah, we've done that. We've done our ALICE training, which is active shooter training. Okay, now freeze right here. How many people have done ALICE training? Active shooter. Oh, yeah, getting lots of good hands here. I applaud that. That is fantastic. And let me just tell you that we are averaging in the United States across the last 5 years, 1.8 mass shootings or mass murders in the United States every day. Every day. It has gotten so common that if we hear of some mass shooter down at the local temple or the mall or some workplace, we're like, ah, look, there's another one. Yep, another day, another one. No. So ALICE training is a very, very good thing. But here's a hint. Why don't we take specific measures to prevent the violence before it happens? People who commit workplace violence show some very, very predictable patterns. Very predictable patterns. And let me just cut to the chase. If I have an environment where it is not safe to speak up, it's not safe to disagree with my director. Well, that's diversity of ideas, isn't it? And later on, we'll look at this. That's how NASA blew 2 space shuttles out of the air and killed 14 astronauts. We knew what the problems were. You just couldn't speak up. Because if you spoke up, you'd get fired. Cancel culture is workplace violence. You cancel somebody, you bully somebody, the chances they are going to hit you with a stapler in the head are actually very good. We have 38,000 physical assaults in American workplaces every week. Every week. So fit that right in there. If I can take care of the bullying, if I can have a more tolerant workplace, that will absolutely cut your chances of workplace violence and homicide way down. And then what are the other program we're going to put in here? Your health and wellness. There we go. How many people, particularly since COVID, you've got some kind of health and wellness program in place at work right now? Oh, yeah, getting some good hands here. Good, great. Okay, now, Why do we have that? Because we don't want to have mental impairments and we don't want to die. There, cut right to the chase. Okay. You know the single biggest threats to your health? Workplace bullying. Working in an unsafe environment. Now, I'll tell you right now, here's where I get buy-in. How do I get buy-in? Because 80% of everyone in this country who has prescription drug coverage, pharmacy coverage, is on psychiatric medications. They know they got a problem and they're trying to deal with it. Oh my gosh. And how do most of us get mental disorders? Because of the chronic, ongoing distress from being bullied by another human being. Right there. 70 to 80% of all Americans, depending on the study you look at, say they are miserable at work. They're getting bullied. Okay, well, guess what? You're going to flood your brain with cortisol and adrenaline. That is going to give you a brain disorder, which we call a mental disorder, and it is most definitely going to give you Alzheimer's. No doubt about it. Oh, and by the way, 80% of all of your people's trips to the doctor's office are actually because of chronic ongoing distress. Why? Because when you flood your body with massive amounts of cortisol and adrenaline, your inflammation system kicks in. Your entire body thinks it's under attack. So what happens? Your whole body swells up like you twisted your ankle. That's why people lose their hair when they are under a tremendous amount of stress, because the largest organ on your body is your skin. It's going to swell. The swelling cuts off the blood flow to your hair falls out. That's also why stress gives you rashes. It's also why we know now it will give you diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis. Okay, freeze right here. All of this goes into your Safe Culture program. Okay. Now you kind of see it's like a grapevine. If you take all of these programs and wind them all together, which is going to be easy, how do you cut your diversity? And look at this diagram. I'm not using the word diversity anywhere. I'm certainly not using the term DEI. I am creating a safe culture for everybody. Does it make sense? Common sense, isn't it? All right, so let's just look at some values. And I want you to start thinking. You want people to start thinking about your Safe Culture program because they're like, yeah. Okay, well, let's, what is in this? Okay, how many people think it is important every day, and this is an obvious one for those of you with safety programs, how many people think if you're in construction or manufacturing or trucking that it's important to go home alive? Yep. Ask another question here. How many people think alive is good? Alive is good, dead is bad, right? Alive is good. Right. Because honestly, if you can't answer that one, you're in the wrong place. You should, I don't know what program is good for you. Probably Mafia. Okay, now let's get a little more down and dirty. Is your environment safe from germs? Whoa. Right? I mean, I tell you, people who didn't have safety programs before, man, they've got health and wellness now for germs. I still see people with their sanitizer and their masks. Oh, here's a good one, and this will shock your people. You want buy-in? Right here. Right here. Is the environment safe for my brain? Okay, how many people here, mental health is a big deal in your organization? I'm going to give you my heart emoji there. How many people think that that's important to your people? Oh, yeah. All of your people are dealing with it? And I'm not kidding. Do you know what the number one threat is to your brain? The people you work with. The people you work with. It would be healthier for your body and your brain to smoke. Yeah, smoking is actually 40% better for your body than bullies. And boy, we take care of the smokers, don't we? Here was a good one. Now we're getting down more to the nitty gritty. Is it safe to be different? Let me ask a really good question here. How many people in here right now, you're different? Have you looked at your fingerprints? You might be black. You might be female. You might be gay. Oh, because you remember, you've heard me preach about this before. We're all related. We're all related. And here's a question that I put into the videos, so you'll see what's coming. Here's a good question. Does anybody here know why men have nipples? Anybody know? Why do men have nipples? That might be your question of the week for next week to put out to your people. Okay, well, it's kind of a fun question. But you know why? Because we all start off neither male nor female. And depending on how the chemicals move, or if my mother had burped or hit a bump in the road, I could have been female. That simple. We're all in this together. Here's a good one, and I want you to really drill this. Is it safe to disagree with other people in your organization? Like, we're going to bring in a pizza this afternoon, and we're going to have a great conversation as to whether or not you like the job Trump is doing. Okay, freeze right there. Freeze right there. How many people think you are going to get a fork in the head? Yep, no matter how much dessert you bring in, food, Oh, and is it safe to disagree with my boss? I mean, you kind of see, when we say safety, you see how much broader this is. Do you have a safe culture? And I want you to start off with these premise questions. This is what I want you to start off with. How many people, and you ask your people this is part of your safe culture. You kind of see how you are defining who you are. And I can tell you right now, when this is done, man, I am giving a call to Target. I'm going to tell them, you made a big mistake getting rid of your diversity program, but I understand because you didn't know what else to do. Well, Target, Jim Beam, Walmart, Jack Daniels, on and on and on and on and on, all these thousands of companies who have dropped their diversity programs, which is wrong, it's bad. Do you agree we're all human beings? And of course, you're going to say, well, of course we are. Now, this is a big one. Is one person equal to one person? Which means if I see one person who is hungry, do I care about the race or religion or gender of that person? Because if you do, you're a racist, you're a bigot, you're the problem. See, this is what I hear all the time. Well, yeah, I understand this person over here is poor, but there's a lot more poor people over here. Wait a minute. People don't live their lives by statistics. They live their lives by individuals. And I'll tell you, one person is equal to one person. Now, let me tell you, if I'd have said that 150 years ago in the South, I'd have gotten hung. I would have been hung. No. Oh, here's a good one. And I'll tell you, you really think about this, because I thought this was an easy one. It's not. Racism and bigotry are wrong, no matter who is doing it. Now, freeze right there. How many people, that is what you want in your culture? You want that in your culture. So that when you are coaching somebody for picking on a quote, quote, old fart, you say, hey, this violates our culture. Everyone should be purposefully included in your safe culture. Are we going to include everybody? Yes. Oh, do you agree we should not use illegal tactics in your organization? You see, if you're running into people who disagree with any of these things, my response would be, well, then you should go work someplace else, because this is not the place for you. We don't break the law. And no one should ever be attacked, bullied, discriminated against, or stereotyped. No one. All of these are our premises for our culture, for everyone. And understand, I'm not using the word diversity because I really don't need to. And finally, everyone should go to work every day in an environment that's safe. Now, let's just do, you'll see this in some of my videos here that I'm working on. Okay, here we go. Picture your organization. You've got a transgender person on the far left, you've got a Satanist, then you have a Hispanic man, and then you got a hippie. Is it safe for all of these people to work in your organization? How many people think you have someone in your organization who is going to be offended by these people, which is fine, but their behavior is not going to be fine? They're going to bully one of these people. How many people think you will have someone in your organization that will violate the rules of your safe culture and pick on one of these people? What do you think? So you know what that means? We're going to have a talk. You and I are going to use our conflict resolution skills. We're going to have a talk. That is not allowed here. You know why? Because if I allow that, that makes it unsafe for me. Right? That's unsafe for my brain. That's unsafe for my body. No, it's okay to be different. And I will never tell you what to believe. I will never tell the Christian fundamentalist or the Islamic fundamentalist or the Jewish fundamentalist that they have to be accepting of the Satanist. Because I'm not going to tell them what to believe. I am going to control your bad behavior. You are not going to bully anyone. See the difference? All right, so how many people here have ever put into place a safety program? Anything like lockout, tag out, germs. Have you ever put in a safety, health, wellness program? Oh, yeah. Okay, so what's the first thing that we do? Okay, well, does anybody see a need for a safety training here? I love these. These really keep me entertained, nothing else. Okay, first thing we want to do, see a problem? Anybody see it? Oh, by the way, you positively, absolutely have to make your program fun. It's got to be educational. You've got to make people, when you do their training, oh, when's the next one? That was really good. Okay. I always get people come walking into my trainings like they're going to their own execution. And I understand because they've been through bad training. Okay. So right here, we want to make it fun. Okay. Do you see a problem? Okay. You've got to look around your organization and see honestly where the problems are. And we're going to deal with those. Then what are we going to do? Well, we're going to train people. We're going to train them. You know, like undo the chain. Okay? You got to undo the chain. So we're going to, from our needs analysis, we're going to determine what sort of training needs to take place. And this would be a good place to start. That's a workers' comp claim right there. Oh, by the way, does everybody understand that stupid doesn't make any difference in workers' comp? It's no fault. All right? If you do something stupid, kind of like this, yeah, that's covered. Now, we trained our people, we identified problems, and somebody makes a mistake. Some mistakes are bigger than others, but the person made a mistake. Okay, great. If someone makes a mistake, we don't take them out to the woodshed and beat them, right? I mean, I hope that you start with coaching. We're going to coach people. People make mistakes. They do. And so guess what? We want them to improve. And freeze right there. When there are 1.4 jobs in America for every person who is actively looking for work. Yes, there are 40% more jobs in America than there are people actively looking for work. Yeah, it's worth coaching this guy and saving him. Then we're going to advertise and reinforce our program all the time. I mean, if you've ever been in a facility that has a safety program, you will see everywhere. You'll see safety first, this safety, or something like this. That's why we do it. We constantly are drilling safe culture, safe culture, safe culture, safe culture. Why? So people remember. And it's part of what we do every day. It's now right here. See his friends watching him? Yeah, this is sort of a Darwin effect thing. Eventually, I don't think this kid's going to recover. This is their culture. This is their culture. No. No, no. You should have stopped him right there. Hey, pal, this is going to hurt you unless it doesn't hurt you because it kills you. No. All right, everybody with me? Okay. Another flaw, and I mean a big flaw in our diversity programs, is they're culturally based. They're not skill based. All right. So what's that mean? Okay. So does this sound like how we usually do our diversity programs? We're going to have, well, February, we're going to do a program for Black culture, which to me is just amazing to me. Can anybody define Black culture for me in an hour? Maybe even a half day or a full day. We're going to do a full day of Black culture training. Can anybody define for me what that is? I mean, I think there's some stereotyping going on there. It's like, no, no, no. But we're going to do a whole program on Black culture. Then we're going to do it on women's rights and women culture, female culture. Then we're going to do one on Japanese culture because we're getting a lot of Japanese business. And of course, we're getting a lot of Chinese in the country. So we're going to do some training on Chinese. Okay, that's great. That's great. What are you going to do when you run into somebody who's Amish? Really, what are you going to do? Say, oh, wait, I haven't had that class yet. Doing culture training is putting the cart before the horse. It's putting the cart before the horse because how do you know who you're going to run into? Here's my whole thing. Let's look at skills. Skills. And compare this to your regular safety program. Lockout, tag out. Well, knowing what to do in a lockout, tag out, and for those of you who aren't familiar with lockout, tag out, whenever you're going to work on something that is electrical, it is a really good idea to turn off the electricity. That's a good idea. And what we do is just to make sure that nobody gets fried, we put a tag on it. Big red tag says this is locked out because Bill over there is working on this and we don't want to kill Bill today. Okay. That's lockout, tag out. That's a skill. That's a skill. So what are we going to focus on? We're going to focus on skills throughout this entire program. We're going to look at emotional intelligence. And that's part of tolerance. It means we're not going to retreat and attack when we're in a conflict. And bystander intervention. And then we're going to make it to second base, which is how to address and resolve a conflict. Those are very defined skills. And that's how you get to third base, which is building trust. And there's other skills we're going to look at throughout your program, but you kind of see if you teach people skills, then it doesn't matter who they run into. They'll be able to deal with most every situation that comes up. Okay, does it make sense? Questions, comments? Because today we're going to start with harassment and bullying. Harassment and bullying. Okay, because good place to start because you really need to be doing that training anyway. Now, these are the 2016 harassment training guidelines put into place by the EEOC. Now, just freeze right there. This was 9 years ago. This is really not new. And what happened was the EEOC came out and they said, harassment and bullying in this country is absolutely positively out of control. Out of control. And how do they know that? Because at any given time, the EEOC is 40 to 50, maybe even 60,000 cases behind. Okay, now freeze right there. If you have an employee who is upset with you and files a charge with the EEOC today, it'll be 5 to 6 months before you even hear from them. That's how backed up they are. And the same thing is with Ohio civil rights. I have a client who filed a civil rights charge on October 7th. So October, November, December, January, February, took 5 months. He just heard from him a couple weeks ago. And when I was on the phone with the civil rights investigator, she says, yeah, every single investigator at the Ohio Civil Rights Commission pretty much has 300 to 350 files on their desk. Is everybody hearing me? 300 to 350? And she said, yeah, this was transferred up here to me in Akron because I've only got like 250. Well, you see, EEOC says we need to start preventing things. And what are these factors that have to be in your program? You've got to teach tolerance. And I want you to be thinking, don't you hear diversity? The EEOC has mandated for you diversity training, but they've called it basically harassment training. Why? Because it prevents harassment and bullying. You got to define bullying, which we're going to do. Conflict resolution. If people know how to address and resolve a conflict, they probably will address it and resolve it with you rather than filing a charge, and they might not hit you with a stapler. Oh, freeze right now. Social media. How many people think social media is consuming the world? And big, oh my gosh, yes. I mean, you just can't keep up with everything. Oh, it's just mind-boggling. And I will tell you, I got a lot of clients who are much more afraid of social media than they are getting sued. And finally, the last one here, bystander intervention. Okay, does anybody have an opinion? Oh, I'm seeing some messages here. If somebody wants SHRM credit, you got to shoot me an email and I will shoot you what you need. Okay, yeah, shoot me an email. I'm seeing lots of these in here. Yeah, so yeah, this is good. I'm sorry, my chat has not been keeping up with me. Oh yeah, I'm seeing in here someone, it was used to be safe to disagree. It's not safe now. Yeah. There's a correlation between safety and quality. Absolutely, Tom. Absolutely. Yeah, people have to hide their true selves because they will be canceled or something like this. Yes, absolutely. I thank you for the comments. They just haven't been progressing on me here. So, okay. Bystander intervention. This is the single most important thing you can put into a safe program. When a bystander speaks up, bullying or harassment stops 57% of the time within 10 seconds. This is the single most important thing. So, and I'll tell you right now, I have never, in the last 9 years, I have not seen a program that's in compliance yet. Not in compliance yet. These standards have been ignored. Now think about this. Let's say that President Trump's executive orders are allowed by the courts. Let's say the court comes back and says, no, these are not vague. This is pretty, whatever. Okay. So that stuff's back in place. Look what you got here. Oh, I don't have a diversity program. I have real safety programming. And this is harassment. This is coming from the EEOC. I am complying with the EEOC. I'm not defying your executive order, and I'm not rainbowing it, like just changing names and things. This is what is dictated to me by the EEOC. It just makes sense to tie these all together. Now, let me just give you a couple things that the EEOC's said in their task force report. Okay, first of all, 85% of all women have experienced sexual harassment in the workplace. 60% of all employees have experienced racial or ethnicity-based harassment. Isn't this sounding like what we're trying to accomplish with diversity anyway? Up to 41% of all LGBT, and today there's a Q on there, employees have experienced harassment, which includes having their workspaces vandalized, and the harassment rates for transgender individuals are even higher. This is right from the playbook for diversity. Up to 20% of all employees with disabilities have experienced harassment or unfair treatment. Up to 25% of workers over the age of 50 have been harassed or subjected to unwelcome comments about their age. It makes no sense to ignore this. Include it in your program. And one of the things I thought was really funny is they said, oh, lawyers are killing us. Lawyers are just killing us. We bring somebody in who's an expert in the law, and they bore the enamel off your teeth. No, this is riveting stuff. Honestly, here's a good question. This is a real serious question. How many people think you should be excited over your culture? Real question. How many people think you should get excited over the culture you have at work? You spend the whole day there? Absolutely. They actually said lawyers do more harm than good. Why? Because the focus has always been on avoiding liability, not prevention. What do we lawyers typically do? We bring people in, scare the bejeebies out of them. Oh, you're going to get sued. Here's what the law says. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. The law is a remedy. Now, it's important to know the law, but that's it. It doesn't prevent anything. So let's look at some of our training guidelines here. And you're going to see what I've been preaching for the last several years of re-engineering diversity. If we had this stuff in place for everybody, it wouldn't be getting canceled all across the country. And forget the executive orders. It's still getting canceled all over the country. We got to re-engineer it. So the EEOC is calling this workplace civility. I'm saying safe workplace because it ties right into safety. Now let's look at tolerance first. Let's look at tolerance. Okay, what is tolerance? Okay, now I get this all the time, particularly from DEI experts. How many people have ever heard, I don't want to be tolerated. I don't want someone just to put up with me. Anybody ever heard that one? They say, I hate the word tolerance because I don't want to be tolerated. Yeah, I get that a lot. No, that's not what it means. Okay, what's it mean? It means I'm not going to persecute someone because they're different. That's it. I'm not going to bully somebody because they're different. Now, let me just tell you how incorporated tolerance has become with the law. Okay, well, first of all, you got the EEOC here telling you, you have to teach tolerance. And understand, if you don't have these 5 items in your training, you are not in compliance with the EEOC. It's that simple. And is that a problem? Well, nothing's ever a problem until it's a problem. And if you have an issue arise and some plaintiff's attorney thinks to go to look at your training and comes back and says, well, you're not even in compliance with the EEOC's recommendations, that does not look good. You weren't trying to prevent anything. Okay, so EEOC is telling you to do it, which should convince you. Second, a lot of the circuit courts, and in particular the Sixth Circuit, which is Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Michigan, mandate tolerance, not acceptance. Because here's what the courts are saying. Oh, and this is also from the United States Supreme Court, which when the United States Supreme Court tells you something, you really should do it. That would be a really good idea. Okay, so that was in the Bostock decision, which interpreted sex discrimination and harassment to include gender identity and sexual orientation. Okay, what are all these courts saying? You do not have to be accepting of someone else's beliefs. The courts will never tell you what to believe. Now, these are the circuit courts, and the United States Supreme Court is telling you this. You do not have to be accepting of someone else's beliefs. An employer can't tell you what to believe, but they do have a right to tell you, and a duty to tell you how to behave. So what are we going to do? If you want to go hate somebody, you go hate somebody. But I can tell you right now, I am going to control your bad behavior on and off the job. Yes, off the job. And the courts have been very clear. You can't harass somebody on Facebook Tuesday night and then expect everything to be fine at work the next day. All right. Got a good comment here from Scott Freehafer. Hey, Scott, if lawyers actually prevent discrimination and harassment, then there's no money in it for the lawyers. Absolutely. Who will defend the companies? And there's no money or verdicts in favor of the plaintiffs. So the plaintiffs' attorneys are not happy either. Yeah. And beliefs are not the same as behaviors. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Scott hits it. Scott and I have talked enough about this. And being an employment attorney for 30 years, you do realize it's all about the attorneys getting paid. And now, just freeze here, because I want to play off what Scott said here. Just reminded me. We're not here to win lawsuits, are we? Which, by the way, employers are dropping like flies today with their illegal programs for hiring and special programs for minorities, and that's illegal. We're not here to win lawsuits. We're here to prevent them. And I will tell you right now, there's one thing that matters in these big law firms. And I worked for 2 big law firms, and if I ever worked for a third, I would make sure that it was at least in a high-rise tower so I could jump off the roof. I'm going to write a book one day as to what it's like to work at the corner of hell and Spring Street. Okay, I'm going to write a book. You know what matters? Billable hours. That's all that matters. All that matters. And they will eat their young. You could be a senior partner, and if you are still not bringing enough billable hours, they will throw your butt out. They're not human. Now, I want to relegate this to litigators. Litigators. That is the life of a litigator. Corporate counsel and things like this, well, no, they don't want to get sued either. More reasonable. But no. You require acceptance in your organization. You got a problem. Because tolerance is not acceptance. Now, I want to ask a good question right here, because I love to talk to just regular, everyday people. That's what I think I am, and that's what I think you are. How many people here, you would have a mutiny at work if you told your people, all your people, that they had to be accepting of the beliefs of a Muslim coworker? They had to be accepting of that Muslim. How many people think you would have outrage? Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell them, hey, I will support your right to believe whatever you want to believe. But I am going to control your behaviors. An employer doesn't have a right to tell you what to believe. I find that personally offensive, and I think most employees find that pretty offensive. No. Now, right there, that is a major problem. You got to define your terms. Tolerance means I'm not going to pick on you because you're different. Now, let me ask you, does an employer have a right to tell employees how to behave? Oh, yeah, you got a legal duty to do that. And if you don't do that, you will get sued and you will lose. All right, now let's drive this home with my favorite example. Some of you have heard me talk about this. It's an amazing story. I got a call from one of my clients up in Holmes County. Heavy Amish. Okay, so I'm up in Holmes County. Got a client up there. And a young woman, just young, 19, 20 years old, she was Amish. And apparently she had it with the Amish, didn't want to be an Amish person anymore. And she worked at this Amish-owned company. And she broke away from the Amish and she turns Satanist. Yes. Now, doesn't this kind of sound like a Saturday Night Live skit? Right? Okay. She turns Satanist. Okay, so guess what? She dyes her hair jet black. By the way, under those bonnets, there's a lot of hair. There's a lot of hair. Okay, so all this hair falls down and dyes it jet black. Okay, black eyeshadow, black lipstick, black fingernail polish, everything black, 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 black. And of course, the good Amish women, they bring their Christian Bibles to work every day. And the Satanist thinks, well, I should bring my Bible. So I'm quite sure she went to Amazon and sent away to get her satanic Bible. Because I promise you, there is nowhere in Holmes County to buy a satanic Bible. Actually, I don't think you can buy a satanic anything. Okay, so you see this setting up? You see this setting up now? This young Satanist is now going to work every day dressed as a Satanist and getting her satanic Bible. How many people think this is really gonna tick off the Amish ladies? What do you think? Anybody thinking you got a bunch of really angry Amish ladies? Okay, yeah, getting lots of 100%. Absolutely, Scott. Getting lots of good thumbs up here. Nah, yeah, thanks, Phoenix. LOL. Okay, how many people think they're gonna bully her? They're gonna try to get her to quit. They are gonna treat her terrible. Right? I got somebody with very strong beliefs. And understand, beliefs are a great thing, but what if you can't control them? Okay, so they're making her life miserable. The owner's got his antennas up, and he gives me a call, and I say, yeah, I'll come on up. So I make the nice, long, leisurely drive to Holmes County from Columbus, and let me assure you, if you're not familiar, there is no good way to get there. So I go all the way up through God's country, and I pull up. Now understand, I'm going to use, and you're going to hear this a lot, you've got to be able to address and resolve conflict, and these people can't. They can't. You offended me, so guess what? They're going to attack. They are going to absolutely attack. So I go in, use my empathic listening, parroting, and rewards. So I sit down, look at all the Amish ladies who are really, really angry, mad. And I look at them and say, okay, who wants to tell me about the Satanist? And I shut up. The secret to addressing and resolving conflict is not talking. Is not talking. So what do? I say, tell me what's happening. And so they look at each other, and then one of them says, well, we've got a Satanist working here. And, you know, we're the ones who are being bullied. We're being bullied. I mean, she's a Satanist. We're good Christian women, and we have to look at this every day. So we're the victims here. Don't worry about that. Bullies always say they're being bullied. Don't worry about that. And then another one says, and we are a Christian organization, right? God has always blessed us. We have been very successful. And now that we got a Satanist here, God is not going to bless us anymore. We're just going to be, in big trouble. Okay, did everybody hear him? All right, so what am I going to do? I'm going to parrot everything back, right? Empathic listening. Now I have to parrot this back to their satisfaction. We don't move on until they agree that I understand. So I say, okay, let me make sure I got this. You're telling me that you're good Christian women, and you having to come in to look at this every day is bullying you because you are good Christian women. And they nod their head and they say, yeah, that's it. Okay. All right. And God has always blessed this company because you're a good Christian organization, good Christian company. And now that's not going to happen now because, she's here and she's a Satanist, and that violates everything you believe. Do I understand? And they say, yeah. Now, freeze right there. If I didn't get it right and they say, no, that's not what we meant, then guess what? Tell me again. Because something I didn't process correctly. You see how this is respect. This is acknowledging your point of view. Okay. But they say, yeah, you got it. So I say, great. Okay. Now think about it. If I agree with them, I'm a hero, right? I'm great. If I say something like, you know what? You are right. We should get some wood and burn her now. Burn her up. Okay, I'm not going to say that. All right. So I'm going to disagree with them. So I got to give them a reward. I got to reward them. I got to thank them for disagreeing with me. If you're going to agree with somebody, you don't have to give them a reward because you're already agreeing with them. But I'm going to say, I see where you're coming from. Now, let me just ask you, do these women, do they have a right to their beliefs? What do you think? They got a right to their beliefs? Yeah. Yeah. They can hate anybody they want. They could be mad at anybody they want. Absolutely. Getting lots of good yeses here. Absolutely. Think about it. Oh, yeah, Scott's giving me, you'd be committing malpractice if you agree with those women. Yeah, I'd have a trip to the disciplinary council when I said that we should start burning witches and Satanists and stuff. So, yeah, I'm going to need a good lawyer. Okay. So, but they got a right to their beliefs. Now, I want you to really separate beliefs from behaviors. Let me clue you in here. If you ever have to coach a problem employee, this will save your butt. EPR. This is your conflict resolution. So I say, I see where you're coming from, and you've got a right to your beliefs. You've got a right to believe whatever you believe. And I'll tell you right now, if anyone ever tells you that you have to be accepting of this person, that you have to change your beliefs, I'm there for you. All right? And they're all thinking, oh, this is good. This is good. We're going to burn her in a minute here. This is going to be great. Okay. I said, but I want to talk about your behaviors, right? I'm not here to hurt you. You always tell people that. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help you. Because you know, one of the things that you get when you turn Satanist is you get an iPhone. You know what iPhones can do? iPhones can record everything that you've said, and she's got you. Okay? She's recorded everything you've said. I think maybe she cut out a place inside her satanic Bible. She is going to sue you and win. And let me tell you the bad news. You live in a state like Ohio. Ohio, what's unique about Ohio? Ohio lets you sue the people who are harassing you firsthand. You can sue them personally. She's going to take your house. You believe what you want to believe. I will never tell you what to believe. And I will come to your aid immediately if anybody ever tells you what to believe. But I want to talk about your behaviors, and I'm here to help you because she's going to sue you and she's going to win. And one of the ladies, she was like, well, yeah, but she's going to go to hell. That's what she's going to burn in hell. And I said, yeah, I know. That's what she's shooting for. Don't go with her. And I always like it when I have folks who are very, very, very fundamentalist in their religion, and they happen to be Christian. And I'm like, well, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? Jesus would burn her. No, he wouldn't. Okay, everybody take off their what would Jesus do bracelets, for a minute there. No. Jesus didn't say punch him back. Because if you punch her back, if I go up to her, if I go up to these Amish ladies and say, you have to be accepting of this Satanist, will they cooperate? I'll give you my reaction here. No. What do you think? They're not going to cooperate, are they? But guess what? They got a right to their beliefs, but not their behaviors. And I'll tell you, right there, beliefs versus behaviors. We're going to be very intolerant of your intolerance. There is no intolerance here. And yes, people are going to offend you. because there's people in the world that are different from you. And you could use the word diversity there if you wanted to. That's fine. But guess what? We're all different. We all have a right to be different. I will never impede your beliefs, encourage your beliefs. But I will shut down those bad behaviors immediately, because it's going to be safe for everybody, because nobody wants to go crazy and nobody wants to die. Does it make sense? Okay, I'll tell you, this is the road we're going to be going down. Next time, we're going to define bullying. We've really already talked about tolerance and conflict resolution, but we're going to start moving through this, and then we are going to look at your workplace violence, preventing workplace violence, and we are going to look at your health and wellness, and all those together are going to be part of your Safe Culture program. Make sense? Questions, comments? Oh, here we got a good one, Tammy. I've lived in Holmes County my entire life. This is an unusual situation. Most times when they leave the Amish, they leave the job that is run by the Amish. Yes, it was very unusual, Tammy. You're absolutely right. And I got a lot of clients up there. And I will tell you right now, it's kind of funny, because as soon as they started treating her decent, she quit and left. She just wanted to stick it to him. That's all she did. She just wanted to stick it to him. So the black eyeshadow and all that stuff was just but you know, it was kind of funny because these Amish ladies didn't know that Satanism is a religion. Actually, the United States Department of Defense tracks about 264 religions in this country, in case any of them rise up and try to overthrow everybody. Yeah, there's a lot of them. So you kind of see who you're going to run into next. Who are you going to run into next? Oh, yes, she wanted to give them grief when she got nothing, she left. Yes, Tammy, that's exactly right. It was all out of spite. Kill them with kindness. That is exactly right. Okay. You see the road we're going down? Now, freeze right here. How many people see this as a better road than what we traditionally do with DEI? Can you see this fitting into your workplace? Honest to God, this is my plan for saving the world. And it has about killed me. 10 years of research. You're going to see a lot of research. 6 months in the studio recording, re-recording. But I will tell you right now, I think we're heading down the wrong road, canceling diversity, because we're canceling ourselves. But we can't continue to have illegal programming. And we absolutely cannot keep stereotyping anyone. It will kill us all. So, oh, thank you, April. Yeah, I'm hoping. I've put everything into this. It is just exhausting me. So, hey, if you want to get SHRM credits, shoot me an email. I can't stress that enough. Shoot me an email, and I will see that, and I will shoot you a way to get some SHRM credits. And if you want to talk about this type of thing for your program, your internal people, let me know. And I got a lot of consultants out there that we're going to start working together on this so that you can start using this with your clients. And finally, if anybody here does want to be a proofer, you know, across the next week or so, shoot me an email, say, hey, I'd like to be a proofer, and I'll send you the drafts of the videos as to where they are. And I'm sending updated links pretty much on a daily basis, because I'm getting some very, very good comments from so many of you that I really appreciate it deeply. And I update them. I listen to all of your comments and take them all very seriously. Okay? All right. Well, hey, everybody have a great, great weekend. And you will be getting, well, this will be posted by next Friday. Okay, it'll be posted under the free resources, Ohio Fair, and Scott's Lunch and Learns. Okay. Oh, thank you so much. It feels so good to have you all here, and that we're going to be making a difference. And hopefully, with any luck at all, the hardcore DEI people will see that we all really do need to get along, because we're fellow humans all together. All right. Everybody take care. Enjoy the weekend, and we will see you all soon.